Forex. Okay, like I said before, we have our disclaimer in place, right? And Forex is not for everybody. We are not financial advisors. We provide information only. What you choose to do with the information provided is up to you, right? Right. So you must realize that all investments have some risk to them. Forex is not excluded. Whatever previous performance is not a guarantee of future results, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so if you wish to be a Forex trader, right, you need to think like a currency exchange, or what we call in our country, Nigeria, a bureau de change. You need to think like these guys. Okay? The bureau de change operator sees Forex, okay, as based on three elements, three very important elements. First, the first element refers to the currency they themselves want to buy and the currency they are going to use to buy the currency they desire. They are merchants of currency, right? So that's the first aspect, the first element of their trade. Of course, it makes sense. It takes two currencies in order to make a trade. Then the next thing, the next element important to build a change operator is time. And the third element is price. Okay, I will explain. Let's use this graph. Within the context of my country, there are bureau de changes, gentlemen who stay on the streets and trade currencies. Okay, we don't have the official bureau de change shop and all that. They trade currency as a hustle. Okay, we'll use them. Okay. Now, the first element, the currency that this gentleman, the hustler, the bureau de change wants to buy, and the one that is willing to use to buy that currency. And see, it takes two currencies to tango. Right. So let's look at that. In Forex trading, we usually pair currencies. The US dollar against Japanese yen, the British pound against the US dollar, the Australian dollar against the US dollar, as you can see. The fourth one, the Euro land against the US dollar. Okay, or you call it the euro against the US dollar, right? This is the full name of the euro. It's called the Euro land. Okay, then you have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen, right? Why is it not called SW? JPY, okay, like the Swiss is called CHF, right? It's essentially, it means Confederatio Helvetica Franc. That's for another day, okay? That's just trivia, okay? That simply means the Confederation of French peoples, call it that, okay? That's trivia. But you have the CHF JPY, which is the Swiss franc Japanese yen, okay? So the fact that we have them the way they are arranged is meaningful, right? The US dollar in the first instance is first, and the Japanese yen is second, you know? It simply means, as a bureau de change operator, I want the US dollar, and I'm willing to buy the US dollar with Japanese yen. In second instance, it means as a bureau de change operator, at that particular time, I want Japanese yen, and I'm willing to use the US dollar to buy the Japanese yen. Okay, so in this instance, the first currency is the Australian dollar. So it means I want the Australian dollar, and I'm willing to put my hand in my pocket and get US dollars in order to buy the Australian dollar. So you follow the trend, okay? So this means I want the euro. I want the euro. The next one means I want the euro. So I'm willing to pay for the euro with some US dollars. In the third instance, the Swiss franc is first. So I want the Swiss franc, and I'm willing to pay for the Swiss franc with the Japanese yen. Okay? So you follow the trend. The first currency in the pair is the currency that is wanted. The second currency is the currency that the Bureau de change operator is willing to use to buy the dollar that he wants. So we forex traders pair the currency pairs, as you can see, and we know what each pair is actually saying. Okay, we'll continue on that trend as we go along, right? So let's continue with our graph. Okay, so these numbers here represent this. It represents the Nigerian naira. The question being asked here is, how much of the Nigerian naira would you want to use in order to buy the dollar? Okay, so we go on. Okay, so we've already explained this already. This entire thing means that the operator, the Bureau de change or the currency exchange operator wishes to buy the dollar with what? With his naira. Okay, so we get that. No point in that now. So we move on. Now we have our legend here: a gray cross and a green cross. The green cross refers to the future, and the gray cross now. So standing here now. Okay, for those who live in other countries, may not quite understand this, but let's just go on with this. This is January. Okay, our operator, our Bureau de change operator, sees that by April, there may be a demand for the dollar. So in January, he buys a lot of dollar. Okay, with the view of offloading his dollars for naira here. So he buys dollars here. He deals in dollars. He deals in currency. So he wishes to make a quick profit by buying dollars here and waiting for April. What's important in April in Nigeria? The Christian festival of Easter. It's a big deal here in Nigeria, so we celebrate it. So lots of our relatives in other countries come back to Nigeria. So there's a demand for the dollar. And a lot of people travel out from Nigeria outside. So there's a demand for the dollar. So what happens? When April comes, our operator now sells his dollars, knowing that by May, there's nothing happening. So he needs to offload his dollars quickly. So by May, he wishes to buy some more dollars. I'm trying to highlight how the Bureau de change operator thinks, how the currency exchange operator thinks about his business. Okay, so now he finds himself here in our Bureau de change operator finds himself here in May, and he knows that by July there is going to be a need for the dollar, a demand for the dollar. So he buys a lot of dollars here, right? Here, $1 costs 400, but he knows that by July, $1 will move far above 550 by July. So what does he do? He buys a lot of dollars in May. and hopes to sell his dollars in July. What's with July? For the foreigners, there's summer, okay? For us in Nigeria, we have a lot of festivals in July. So there are a lot of foreign visitors, people leaving the country and returning to the country and so on and so forth. So there will be a demand for dollars at this time. So he buys his dollars here and waits for the future. The future comes. So happens. He decides to sell his dollars because he knows very soon the festivals will be over and summer will be over, and the need for the dollar will dissipate. Okay, so he sells dollars here, and what does he do after selling them? When time comes for September, what does he do? He looks forward into the future, to December. The entire world knows what December means. December is Christmas, right? So he buys a lot of dollars and waits for December. So he knows he's going to make a lot of profit from selling the dollars he buys in September when December comes around. Okay? So what does he do the next year? Essentially, he repeats the trend again. Essentially. This is simplistic, but it gives you an idea of what goes on in the mind of the bureau de change operator or the currency exchange operator. Okay? They have to make money. That's logical. And this is how they do it. Okay? So, now, we see that through our description, over time, a zigzag line forms. So what do we have here? This zigzag line is essentially the movement of or action of price over time. That stands to reason, I believe. So in forex trading, we call these actions of price over time, we call them price action. You don't need to forget this, price action. Very important. You're going to come across it a lot, right? Price action. Okay. So remember the word price. I repeat for a reason because it's important. Price action. You're going to come across it quite often. Now, if you look at this diagram, right? It's the diagram we saw in the beginning. You see? What if I tell you that everything I explained from the last graph is on this diagram? If you understand the last graph, you understand this diagram. If you understand this diagram, you understand something of what the forex trader has to look at on a daily basis. Okay? All right. In the next video, we're going to look at the similarities between the two graphs more closely. All right. Thank you a lot for being a part of this video. Right. I'll see you in the next video.